Calls for more information on the Niger ambush. As you take a look at a map there, we're getting more and more details about what happened in that ambush. And U.S. Special Forces, U.S. troops involved. 4 Americans died 2 weeks ago now. And AFRICOM, that runs that part of the world for the U.S. military, put out a statement today why the U.S. military is there, provides training, security assistance to Nigerian armed forces, including support for intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance to facilitate their efforts to target extremist organizations in the region. Violent extremist groups based in northern Mali and across the Sahel exploit porous borders, have reliable access to weapons, and enjoy relative freedom of movement that enables their attacks. These terrorists pose a threat to the citizens of Niger and other African nations, and also to U.S. personnel and U.S. interests in Africa. One lawmaker says it's only going to be more expansive there.
The next 9/11 to come from Niger. The war is headed to Africa. It's beginning to morph. As we suppress the enemy in the Mideast, they're going to move. They're not going to quit.
So let's start there. Busy week on this topic. Let's bring in our panel. Byron York, Chief Political Correspondent of the Washington Examiner. Aaron McPike, White House Correspondent for the Independent Journal Review. And David Cantony, Senior Politics Writer for U.S. News and World Report. Byron, the calls continue, obviously, from Capitol Hill, and there are multiple investigations ongoing.
Exactly. There's a couple of big issues here. One is what happened on October 4th. We're finding a little more, but we really don't know very much, and I think the military doesn't know exactly what happened, and it's going to take some time to reconstruct that. So we do have to wait a little bit for that. The other thing, though, is what is our mission in Niger? Why did we send 150 American troops over there in 2013? President Obama did. Why has that grown to nearly 800? What are we doing? And I think that's something the government could be explaining right now. And I think they should definitely do that until they find out specifically what happened.
I mean, there has been some explanation along the way about what we're doing there. It's important to point out that we have 180,000 U.S. military personnel in 140 different countries. Here is President Trump on terrorism in Africa, September 20th.
In the Central African Republic, the Congo, Libya, Mali, Somalia, and South Sudan, among others, they're going through some very, very tough and very dangerous times. Terrorist groups such as ISIS, Al-Shabaab, Boko Haram, and Al-Qaeda also threaten African peace. The United States is proud to work with you to eradicate terrorist safe havens.
So basically, they're trying to prevent terrorists from getting a foothold.
That's right, but the thing I think we need to point out is that there are ISIS training camps scattered throughout northern Africa. And Lindsey Graham said today that this is spreading into Africa. It's already there. And that's why you see these U.S. forces have to spread throughout the continent to help local forces. In that statement that you read from, that is a 2-page long statement explaining why it is that U.S. forces are there. And they make clear to say at the end that they are there to assist local forces, advise them, and train them.
David.
We don't have all the facts yet, but the reporting is moving faster than the facts. And there's some disturbing reporting about this out here tonight. The Los Angeles Times is out there saying that the military requested extra, more backup surveillance drones to help protect these guys when they're moving in, and that it was rejected locally. There's also some reporting tonight that the rescue mission was not conducted by military, but by private contractors. Again, this hasn't been confirmed, but this is starting to leak out in different news organizations. One other news organization tonight is quoting a senior congressional staffer calling it a massive intelligence failure, and they're comparing it to the crisis in Benghazi. So I think there is going to be a lot of legwork done about this in the coming days.
Sure. Special forces do a lot of stuff around the world. They are in dangerous positions, and this is a wide open area that is a vast swath of territory, and obviously there were a lot of extenuating circumstances to Benghazi that dealt with how the government dealt with things along the way. This also comes among the controversy about this condolence call, and it's another day of this coverage. Take a listen to the White House today.
As General Kelly pointed out, if you're able to make a sacred act like honoring American heroes all about yourself, you're an empty barrel. If you don't understand that reference, I'll put it a little more simply. As we say in the South, all hat, no cattle.
I do not appreciate someone lying on me. If you lie on me, I'm going to answer, because I'm not going to let you get away with it. That's the way I teach my boys, and that's the way I live my life. Don't lie on me.
Byron.
I think today's issue is a lot smaller than yesterday when General Kelly delivered this really very, very impressive performance, educating a lot of the country about military values. Now there seems to be a fight about Kelly's credibility. I'm going to steal something from Molly Hemingway, who said, no, Representative Wilson did not brag in an unseemly fashion about funding the building. She bragged in an unseemly fashion about naming the building. I don't think this was a huge mistake on Kelly's part, and it in no way overshadows the message and the power of his message yesterday.
Aaron?
One other thing I would want to add here is that I've heard a number of congressmen say this week that we're not talking about how ISIS is on the run because of the liberation of Raqqa. But I think this entire story shows that they might be on the run, but they're running to other areas. And so all of these missions are really important, and they continue to be.
Last word.
I think Kelly's credibility did take a credibility hit today. I watched the 9-minute video. The congresswoman never states anything about funding in the 9-minute video that he referred to specifically yesterday. I know
Sarah Huckabee Sanders says that he talked about it, or she talked about it elsewhere outside the 9 minutes.
But that's a change of the story.
Understood, but maybe it's, you know, as far as Kelly's credibility on this issue talking, you're saying that the charge was...
Saying there isn't evidence of what he is accusing her of. I watched the 9-minute video today. She's talking about how everyone came together to move this FBI facility forward. She credits Republicans for it. So I don't know where he got that from. I think he misremembered it, and I think the White House should have owned up to that. And then, you know, look, his performance yesterday was admirable. But I think it muddied the waters, making that specific, that accusation against this congresswoman, which really is an unnecessary fight for them to have.
Last word.
Well, it is an unnecessary fight, and the problem is, it is up to the media to also make decisions here. I mean, I heard one report today who said that the developments about Niger were overshadowed by this controversy over Kelly's remarks. Well, why were they? That's an editorial judgment. I personally think the issues in Niger are really important. To elaborate on what you said, we're definitely heading for congressional hearings about something like this, and that's a bigger story.
I agree.